Da, 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 da,
Oh my gosh, I love it. I see where this is going.
Welcome to this episode of the Chasing Elephants podcast.
Yes.
Listen, I'm taking the lead off. I know you want me to turn the music off. I ain't yet.
Hey man, listen, I'm here for it.
The
I'm here for
reason
it.
I am playing this music, ladies and gentlemen, is because my esteemed colleague right next to me now and henceforth will forever be referred to as the Dr. Jeff Wallace, Ph.D.
Oh,
Jeff Wallace,
man.
Ph.D.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Congratulations. And if you
Thank
don't
you.
know, real quick, guys, and I'm going to ask him some questions about this today, but Jeff, you've been on a journey,
Oh my, yes.
and it culminated about a week ago
Yes, sir.
with you defending your dissertation.
Yes, sir.
In front of a committee of professors
Mm-hmm.
who either give you thumbs up or thumbs down at the end of that.
Yeah.
And
ask a lot of questions in the middle.
And ask a lot of questions in the middle. And you heard the words, congratulations, Dr. Jeff Wallace, before
I
you
did.
left that room. So
I did.
congratulations, my
Thank
friend.
you, man. I appreciate it, brother. It was a journey. What many people don't know, though, about this journey is I started off thinking about taking, a deepen route,
Yeah.
Doctor of Ministry, which, in the church world, when I was
Great
staying in
degree.
my church, great degree. And
Much more practical, a
Absolutely.
practitioner degree.
Yep.
Yep.
The plan was before my time here at Student Leadership University, I was going to be the successor to my pastor, so that was the pathway. But my friends, I talked to a friend of mine, Dr. Britt Crow, Ph.D., who very lovingly convinced me, like, hey, man, you should, in this space. No, honestly, though, it was great. It was great. Great advice, but in this space, try for
Right.
the PhD. And so, man, I did it. It was, Brent, the hardest. I'm not gonna even
Yeah.
lie to you.
Yeah.
It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
I believe you.
Academically by far, but almost in life, man. It was a lot, and I did not realize how exhausted I was.
Yeah.
until afterwards, right
Yeah.
after they said
And
it.
some of that's going to continue to come, I think,
Yeah.
for weeks and months to
Yeah.
come, because for over 3 years, you've trained your brain to go, okay, if I'm not at work, I'm working on
Yep.
my either a seminar or a paper for a seminar
Yep.
or dissertation or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. And it's nonstop. It's nonstop pressure because there
Right.
is this thing in the back of your mind because they scare you.
Yeah.
When you start a PhD process, they'll go, hey, here's the percentage of people
Yeah.
who start and
First
never
week.
finish.
First week.
And you're like, holy cow. So only a very small percentage of people even attempt this.
Yeah.
And you're telling me out of that small percentage, most of them
Right.
never even get through the
Yeah,
seminars.
yeah.
And so it's a big, big deal. Real quick.
Yes, sir.
When we say PhD, it's a doctorate of philosophy. It's a high-level degree earned after a period of different institutions have it laid out different ways, but 3, 4, 5 years in some case. It's a graduate, obviously, level degree. It is a research degree. For example, you mentioned the doctorate of ministry. A doctorate of ministry is studying a phenomenon that may be happening in the local
Right.
church
Right.
or in some ministry somewhere, and you want to figure out a strategy about how to best come alongside that phenomenon.
Yes.
Or event or situation or whatever it may be. A PhD, which will fall into one of two categories, like
Yep.
every other degree, either the humanities or the social sciences.
Right.
The humanities simply means you're typically dealing with dead people in books, right? The social the social science side of things is quantitative, qualitative research. Everything falls under those two categories,
Yep.
and it's more looking or critical analysis based on either advanced statistics
Right.
or case studies or even historical case studies, things
Yep.
of that nature.
Right.
So a PhD is in our world, Jeff, the Mount Everest of degrees.
Yes.
It's a research degree.
Yes.
It's not a medical degree. It's a research degree.
Right.
And it's it differs from other doctorates in ministry, if you would say, because it's not based on discovering more or a strategy to come alongside something existing.
Yeah.
A PhD is designed to discover something that no one else has discovered.
Exactly. And that in that process, I learned that in the proposal process because of the fact that the first process was I had to do a proposal defense. So, you have a statement or a question and you have to stand before the committee and share this statement or question of, what do you want to research and the why. And you're exactly right, Brent. It is, okay, the reason why the committee needs to hear this because they want to know what makes this topic unique. Right. Has it been studied before? Right. And those two things really decide whether you can move those decisions on that. Once you answer those questions, that's when the committee lets you know, okay, yeah, this is something that you can move forward and research. And in my case, I did a phenomenological study, case study, if you will, and it was really, really, really interesting to see everything kind of take shape in the process. So, man, listen.
But it was the Mount Everest of, you did it.
Yeah,
you
man.
did it, buddy.
And it got to the point, you told me this. You said, Jeff, there's going to come a time where you're going to absolutely just hate it. Like, it's just, you're just, you and Sean McDowell, Dr. Sean McDowell, he said the same thing. He said, you're going to get to a place where, and you're so close, you're just like, I just want to tap out and just say, forget it. And brother,
a lot of people do.
It was a lot of times when it's 3 a.m. and I gotta get here at 9 a.m.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
but you did it. You did it. Well, I'm gonna ask you a few questions around this. I thought it would be a beneficial conversation for us to talk about using the backdrop of your this journey you've been on the last 3 or 4 years. To really kind of help understand why is the education, or more importantly, why is learning such a significant gift, really, in the human experience as a Christian, particularly. Why is that so beneficial? So I'm gonna ask you a couple questions.
Okay, cool.
Here we go. Let's start with a softball question, if you will. Why did you want to get one?
Well, one, because...
Why put yourself through this?
Well, one, because I truly believe that, and we tell our students at SLU, that leaders are learners, right? And I think that there is an importance, in my opinion, of always pushing yourself to be an astute learner. And so I wanted to, challenge myself. Obviously, I thought that just in my role here at Student Leadership University to be beneficial to our organization, to have a Ph.D., but just personally, I'm a diehard learner, right? And so I wanted to just kind of push myself to see if I could. Two, the process, I knew was going to not only stretch me, but also teach me some things that I can apply to my own personal leadership.
Right.
And so that was the one of many reasons, but the main reason was outside of wanting to be the best version of myself and be a great leader for our organization. I just wanted to stretch myself and to see if I could. I'm ultra competitive.
Yeah.
And you're right. That first week, man, I'm not going to lie to you, man. We had about 30 people in that first week cohort starting. And I think we ended, my time ended, I think there were 5 of us who actually defended.
Our cohort started with, I think, 13 when I did mine. And a cohort is just a group of people that you're going to go through the journey with. You're not all writing on the same thing, but you're all taking the same seminars.
Right.
And the idea is you're on a similar schedule, so you're kind of helping each other, hold each other accountable. Out of 13, I think only 3.
Really? Yeah. And that 30, man, I think, they dropped off after maybe 3 seminars. So that 30 started, we're excited. And then for various reasons, people shifted to different other degrees or they just dropped out or whatnot. But man, it was crazy. And to see that only 5 of us defended, I was like, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah. When you think about, okay, here you are, you're a grown man, and you're going to go ahead and tackle this this degree. You're already very successful. You could keep running in this lane, doing what you're doing, and you're But you're going, no, I want to stretch myself.
Mm-hmm.
I want to serve what the ministry God's called me to better. I want to learn more about myself and what I can accomplish. I want to challenge myself. Those were several things that you said there. But when you think about, okay, at this stage of life, I'm gonna go back to school. Basically, I'm gonna give myself to this. What did? Because I think you would answer this question different earlier in life than at this stage of life. And when I say this stage of life, Jeff and I are still at a very young,
very much
vibrant stage of life. But we're just not in our 20s anymore. That's all that's
been a long time.
Mean.
Yes.
20s are in the rear view, baby.
Rear view, yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I didn't even have an iPhone in the 20s, so that should tell you something.
Yeah.
But what, at this stage of life, what did you learn about yourself going through the crucible of this thing?
I learned. Well, let me say it this way. It reaffirmed what I mentioned before. I love to learn. That's what was reaffirmed. That I do actually love to engage theology. I love to engage things in social science. I just love to learn, man. I love to stretch muscles in my mind, my brain muscles. And so I was reminded of that. What I also learned, Brent, is I learned that I also need to be intentional about how I organize my life. We always talk about margins and building margins and rest and all that stuff, but let's be honest, when you're trying to do something like this and also just be in full-time ministry or work or whatnot, we can use the term, let's have some margins, but it's kind of hard to have that. Right. But I learned how to be disciplined, that I can be disciplined in the middle of chaos. And that was very, very eye-opening for me, because now I know I can really be a full-fledged SLU employee, right? But that just as chaos happens, and I say chaos not in a negative way, but just as stuff is happening, I can
flurry of activity coming your way.
That I can be productive in the middle of chaos. And I think that's what I learned about myself, because I don't know that I knew that before this process, or I knew I could, or I would not have known different methods of how to be intentional about navigating through the chaos when you have so many things going on. And then the psychological process of I really had to deepen my devotion. It's gonna sound really crazy, but I had to really deepen my devotion time with the Lord, to ask the Lord to give me wisdom and discernment, and just a peace, in the midst of feeling like, oh, why did I do this? Or, man, I'm not gonna be able to finish, or, I'm failing, I feel like I'm not being my best for SLU. And so it really also taught me how, man, to really deepen my devotion with the Lord during this time. And so it was really, really awesome for me, because I think it helped me not just as a man of God, but just as a leader, because in life, man, as leaders, stuff is going to happen. Yeah. And we have two choices. Either we can weep and wallow in it, or we can recognize this is what it is, and we go to work to make it happen. Yeah. So
I remember being in the throes of doing all the research and then jumping through the hoops that they want you to jump through, which I understand the hoops, but there are parts of you that go,
like academic hazing.
Do we need this many hoops? There's a couple hoops that are just
some of these edits, I'm like, okay, you could have gave me that 3 emails ago. Yeah.
But I remember going through all that, and one of the benefits that one of the things I learned going through the doctoral process, primarily it was taught to me in the seminars, but then it was verified in my mind through the dissertation process, writing the dissertation, is that there are certain words that I've just tossed around.
That's a good point.
And those words mean something different. And of course, it speaks to a larger thing that's happening in our society, where we are constantly changing the meaning of words.
Great point.
One word is the word valid. The word valid or validity in academic circles or research circles, that's something that has been proven. Yeah. But if I'm sitting here going, oh, you got a valid point. It's just me saying something subjective. Oh, yeah, that sounds good,
That's
man.
really,
Boy,
really
I tell you,
good.
this is valid. You need to listen to this.
Yeah.
The validity of this is, and I'd use it as an adjective, and you go, oh,
Yeah.
whoa, no.
Yeah.
I've got to be able to prove that idea.
Yes.
So this is this journey that you go on forces you to prove your ideas.
That is so good. And that's a great point, Brent, because so my topic was, like I said, it's a phenomenological study. And I was talking about the Southern Baptist Convention's perception of diversity, equity, inclusion compared to...
Say that one more time.
The Southern Baptist Convention's perception of diversity, equity, inclusion,
Okay.
DEI, compared to African American pastors and leaders' lived experiences. And what was so chapters one through 3, obviously you're doing the particular chapter 1, the significance of study, background of the study, your questions. And what was interesting is because I'm writing this research project, and this time I had to be very, very clear on words. What do I mean when I say inclusivity, inclusion?
Yeah.
Because I was not talking about the, inclusion of like the LGBTQ plus deal. If I'm talking about women in leadership, I had to specify, what do I mean when I say a woman?
Yeah.
I mean, I had to specify, I'm talking about a natural born woman. This project is not, when you talk about the gaps or the limitations of the research, I had to be very, very clear on what I'm talking about, that word diversity or equity, because it was a leadership project, but I was taking a theological and doctrinal stance, and position. So the clarity of terms and what was a struggle or just kind of caught me off guard was my committee had told me, hey, you have to be clear throughout the fabric of this entire project so that people who are reading this project, they don't lump you in the category that some of the things that you're talking about, you're speaking to a broad scope community or topic of inclusion, but you're very specific in what you're talking about in terms of inclusion or inclusivity. So you're so right. Things that you just normally think about in terms, you had to be very, very clear. And very specific so that there's no ambiguity in the research.
You had to challenge the process of your own ideas so that you can then prove those ideas.
Yes.
And therefore even go, okay, now I can tell you, scientifically speaking or based on this research method, this is a proven idea.
Yes.
So, one of the things, I don't know about you, but one of the things that I learned through this process is, I went into it going, geez, I'm not an academic.
Right.
Like,
Lord,
I'm the least, like, I don't fit that stereotype. Maybe that's wrong of me, but I'm not an academic, man. I don't get dressed up. I don't use big words.
Right,
I don't take long walks to just think about the whatever. I mean, I love to read. I've become I'm more of a nerd the older I get, but I don't. The academy doesn't have any appeal to me. I'm not. To some, it does, and it's a calling. It's just not mine.
Sure.
Gosh, do I even belong here? And one of the things that I learned through this process is you don't have to be this. Everybody thinks if you get a PhD, you're just this really, really smart person.
Right.
I think it's different.
Yeah.
It's not that you're really, really smart. It's that you're really, really disciplined and you're really, really diligent. And it wasn't. That. I mean, you do have to be intelligent to do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not demeaning the level of intelligence necessary to be able to do this kind of research.
Right.
But I am saying there are a lot of guys out there a lot smarter than me that dropped off. Like, I sat in that room and I went, I know you're smarter than me. And I can't even pronounce that word you just said. And but at the end of the day, I wasn't smarter than them. I just worked harder than them. I was more diligent than them. Or I worked smarter than them. I'm not better than them. I'm just saying that's what happened. And so I learned that earning a PhD taught me you can do incredibly difficult things if you're willing to stay in the fight, if you're willing to have grit to grind it out on the daily, and you have a good plan that you follow.
Man, that's so true. And you're absolutely right, Brandon. Lord knows, I didn't think I was worthy, or that, because you walk into this room and you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, to earn a PhD, you have to be, like a Dr. John Lennox, what I'm saying? I mean, just a brain. But you're right there. It is so much about the discipline of the process, or being disciplined in the midst of, I should say that way, excuse me, being disciplined in the midst of the process, because it's going to be hard. And that's one of the things I said to myself. I said, I'm not going to run as a leader. I'm not going to run from hard things.
Right.
And if I believe that leaders are constant learners, then I'm going to be diligent to finish what I started. Because if I quit this, then
what else will I quit?
Exactly. And so I think that is the difference. And again, things happen. I mean, gosh, you've walked with me through this process, and so many things have happened in my family, personal, things that we've had to deal with within our organization. And it's like, okay, I can make the excuse and justify or rationalize the excuse in my mind why I didn't finish, or I can say, no, I am committed to being disciplined, training my mind, my body, and my leadership to be disciplined to say, whatever I start, I'm going to finish.
Right.
And I think that's what was important to me.
I know one of the questions you're getting, and you're going to get, or you will continue to get, is, and I get it from time to time, and I especially got it right after I did my PhD, is, okay, so now what? Like, you've done this, so now that platforms you to go somewhere else, do something bigger, do something better. You can now lead an institution.
Yeah.
You can now lead this really large church. You can now lead this big company. All of these things happen, and by the way, those offers happen.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in an arrogant way. It's just people go, oh, you could do that, and you've built that, and you've done that, and you've written that, and you can preach. Can you do this?
Right.
And I've told everybody, man, I didn't get this to have. This is not a platform. This is a tool.
There you go.
And I did this so that I can run in the lane God's called me to run in better.
Yes.
I didn't get it to get out of my lane. I got in it to run in my lane better. It's not a platform. It's a tool.
Yeah.
And so I that was one of the things that I was surprised about coming through it, is that there was this, okay, so now what? This allows you to go through this door or that door, and behind this door is opportunity number A, and behind this door is opportunity number B, and you can be a grown-up, and you can earn more money, and you can, and I'm like, what the heck? That was never in the equation.
And for me, honestly, my topic was personal. And so I wrote a redemptive, God-honoring, I pray, and unifying project that I felt like I wanted to use as a tool. That's a great analogy. A tool to bring healing, clarity, research to a convention that I love. And so on one hand, it was, hey, can I challenge myself to be disciplined and to push through this and to, accomplish the Mount Everest of education.
Yeah.
But then, Brent, on the other side of it, as an African-American leader who's grown up SBC, who has friends, multiple friends on multiple levels of the convention, there was something very personal about this project. I would have did it, the case study and the research, even if I wasn't earning a PhD. That's how personal it was for me. And so on that end, for me, there was kind of like this dual thing working while I'm going through the process. Like, man, I needed to write this for a group of people and an institution that I highly respect, admire, and love. And
it's not for today, but the men you interviewed was like a I don't know, it was like an NBA All-Star team. We're sports guys, so that's all I can think of. It was like the Pro Bowl of whatever. Yeah. But it was an incredible list of folks. I'd love to get into that another day.
Yeah, sure.
Because you interviewed some highly respected just well respected, very deep thinking leaders.
Yeah.
Who aren't cynical, who are wise, strong in their faith, great attitudes, humble leaders.
Yes.
I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Let's connect the dots for a few minutes.
Okay, sure.
What can we, if you go, a leader should be a lifelong learner. What benefits or what conclusions or principles or ideas can we take away from a project like this that is transferable to, say, a 16-year-old who's on their way home from football practice today, or a 26-year-old who's driving to their job, or I'll go first to prime the pump, because I know I'm throwing this one on you.
You good.
But I heard the chaplain for the United States Senate, Chaplain Barry C. Black, say years ago. I think it's been 15 years ago. I heard him say this.
Yeah.
And but he said, it's better to read 3 pages of Aristotle than 300 pages about Aristotle. And what he was getting at is, it's better to always go to the primary source.
Yeah.
And so one of the benefits of this for me that I think is a transferable principle is to be a primary source kind of leader.
Yeah.
Always go, if you dig,
That's good.
and you know how to dig, you look at that footnote, or you go, okay, this is a book about that person.
Yeah.
This isn't a book by that person, or this is an interview about that person. This isn't the person being interviewed. But whatever is the primary source material or location.
Yes.
Which is one of the things we do at SLU. We go to primary source locations.
Right.
Let's do whatever we have to do, and it may be a little bit of a grind to get there, but let's get to the primary voice and let that speak for itself.
Yeah.
For example, one of the characters I studied was Elizabeth Fry. It's a woman that led prison reform in England. She took on the most notorious prison in all of England. It was nicknamed the prototype of hell.
Yeah.
For 800 years it stood in London, and anyways, it's this crazy story. But there wasn't a lot written on her. There was some, but there wasn't a lot.
Yep.
But her journals were available. Now, nobody was buying them. You could get a PDF copy through this. But if you're willing to dig, you can get back to some of those primary sources. You could hear Elizabeth Fry's voice, not audibly, but you could read her words that she wrote down.
That's good.
So that was one that I learned. Be a primary source kind of learner.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I learned in this is that your commitment to being a scholar will really help enhance your influence. Right? I think in this journey, Brent. When you talk about engaging primary sources, the process in which it takes to go through this, man, what do we want to be as leaders?
Right.
What do we, I want to be known, and this is just me personally. I want to be known as a thought leader. I want to be known as a person who has made a commitment to learning certain skills that I can leverage in my own personal leadership and influence. And so I think that the commitment to scholarship, or the commitment to being a scholar, it can only hurt, it can only not hurt. It can only enhance and not hurt your leadership and your influence as an individual. I think that was, for me, something that I've taken away from this process. Is, man, I like engaging things. I like becoming a scholar in areas, right? And I don't feel like I'm smarter than the next person or anything like that. I just think that now I have the skills or the tools in my tool belt to be able to, if you were to ask me, okay, Jeff, I need you to go in this space and lead in this space, and it's something I've maybe not done personally in my life before, but now because of some of the tools I have in my tool belt on how to engage scholarship, or how to engage information, or how to create something out of nothing, I think that's what the process for me has been really, really cool. Of like, man, hey, there should be a commitment we should have as leaders, to being scholars in our field. I think, I don't ever want to be a person who leans on my opinion, but I want to be a person who understands and appreciate the art of critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
And how to think critically about things. And that's what this process really taught me.
Yeah, that's a great one, buddy. Like, another one I thought of was serious thinkers don't get distracted. Because when you write a dissertation, and for those who, it's just you have to be obsessed with an idea.
Yeah.
For a long period of time.
That's good. Seriously, that is so true.
But you can't, if you allow yourself just to constantly get distracted, you'd never get that dissertation done.
Mm-hmm.
And so a serious thinker, it's almost like Nehemiah. I can't come down from the wall.
Yeah.
A serious thinker doesn't allow themselves to constantly get distracted by the trivial because they have a goal in mind and they don't want to detract from the person they're trying to become.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that skill I think will serve me, or that thought principle will serve me probably the rest of my life.
Yeah, and so I'll run in this line. This probably would be something that I probably should have said in the beginning. Maybe this is probably a first thing to motivate me as a leader, Brent, to continue to be a learner. I think that there has to be this mindset that we as leaders have that says, I'm never satisfied being the smartest person in the room. I think if we get to a place, what I've appreciated about just our friendship personally, but just as colleagues, I learned so much from you.
Same here.
And I love being in the room with leaders like yourself who are going to push me, going to stretch me, inspire me to be a better version of myself. Because if I'm always the smartest person in the room, then I don't increase my leadership lid. I kind of, my leadership either plateau or suppress a little bit, right? If everybody I'm leading down, John Maxwell has this book, The 360-Degree Leader, talks about how to lead across, lead down, lead up. Man, I love being in spaces where I say, I don't want to be the smartest person. I don't want to, it's not, there's sometimes, if I'm being honest, I'm going to be in the room. I'm going to be the thought leader in the room. But if I'm always the smartest person in the room,
that's a problem.
That's the problem. That's a problem. And I think so there has to be this commitment as leaders that we never want to be the smartest person in the room. So who are some people, in practical standpoint, man, who are some people that you think, man, I would love to just sit down and pick their brain on? Who can I call? You'll be surprised. People be surprised as leaders. You'll be surprised, man, who's this pastor, this leader, a businessman, a woman who you can say, man, I'd love to just pick up the phone, sit down, have coffee with them and ask them some questions. How did you do this? And what are some things that you've learned in this? Yeah. I think that's a part of the process as well as leaders. Man, I said we have to have a mindset that says, I don't want to always be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, that's right. Wow, that's a good word, man. And on that word, let me just add one more.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
To Jeff Wallace, Ph.D.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Hey,
as the Brits would say, it's done and dusted.
It's done and dusted, man. Listen, I just want to go on record to say I'm never going back to school. I'm just kidding. No, but thank you, man.
Going back to graduation.
Yeah, I'm going to graduation. Yes. But, man, thank you for that.
Well, congratulations. And I know I'm going to ask everybody if you would reach out on social media and give Jeff a big shout out and say congratulations to him. You can follow him at
I am Jeff Wallace.
That's right. You can follow me at I'm.
I am Brent A. Crow.
You can follow me, Brent A. Crow, and more importantly, you can follow us at SLU Lead. SLU Lead. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Yes.
We'd love to hear what you have to say about some future topics you'd like for us to discuss. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Chasing Elephants podcast.
Yeah.
And until we meet again, wander well.
God bless you.